Hi, and welcome to another episode of Kuntarkis. My name is Michael Yon, and this episode is on the energy bodies of the human being. So, Kuntarkis, what are the energy bodies of the human being?
Well, before I actually explain that, I'd just like to actually read this little part that I wrote down the other day. It just gives you a very brief explanation of the different bodies, and then we'll go into it much deeper. Each of us as human beings are created directly from magnetic energy, which is a substance called living energy, then formed into what is referred to as atoms, which manifests into a physical body of solid matter. Yet in reality, we each are so much more than what we have been conditioned to believe. Our conditioning has caused each of us to disconnect from the true reality of the inner knowing. This is a summarized version of my own personal experiences, where I have spent my entire existence on this earth searching out the true reality of human existence in our third dimensional vibration, which is classed as the physical realm of solid matter. I have also learned how to have full awareness in being within the spirit vibration, which is referred to as the fourth dimensional vibration, where physical beings do not exist because of the different levels of frequencies. So I will now name the 8 bodies of human reality. Number 1, physical body. Number 2, the emotional body, human created ego of our own human existence. Number 3, the etheric body. Number 4, the aura that surrounds our whole physical body. Number 5, the astral body, which is the lower connection to spirit vibration. Number 6, the spirit body, direct link to one's mind. Number 7, the mind, the overseer of the above and direct link to your soul. Number 8, the soul, the overseer of the above and direct link to the totality of creation, being living energy. Number 9, creation's totality, divinity, being pure, conscious, living energy. It is a scientific truth that we as human beings are made up of over 4 quadrillion cells of living energy. Each of these cells have their own form of living consciousness, and they continually communicate with each other in every moment of our existence, in fact, at the speed of light. Just think for a moment, if we as human beings were individually taught to communicate with our own cellular cells that makes up our entire existence, there would be no, and I mean no, more disease. Now we may ask that question, why? These cells have the natural ability to rejuvenate themselves. Isn't that an amazing thought, humanity? Can you imagine if there was someone who could actually teach that knowledge on planet Earth? Cellular cells continue in every moment of every breath to rejuvenate on a continuous cycle. One of the biggest issues human beings are taught from the moment they take their first breath to believe that they will grow older every year by our parents and the social system. I ask that you take the time to listen also to one of my episodes on my podcast called Karma, Reincarnation and Genetics. It explains why we find it hard to discover our own individuality. But listen with an open mind and heart. Especially do not begin to blame whoever for how you feel or how your life currently is. Be open to knowledge, because it will help give you a new understanding in how you can change whatever you wish to change. Rejuvenation is healing, the old to move into the new. Only you, the individual, can accomplish this task through self-realization and self-awareness. Did you want to ask anything, Michael, of that before we start?
No, please keep going.
Okay. Let's also now go into what is the energy bodies of a human being. Number 1, the physical body. Now, most people look at the physical body as being solid. It can't lift off the ground very well. It can run fast if you train. Most people, when they get to a certain age, don't even take the strides that they used to when they were young with their legs. They start to decrease the gap as they walk. Have you ever noticed that, Michael, in people? It's really true. We become heavier because we believe that we are totally physical and nothing else, because we're not taught anything about the makeup of what a physical body truly is. And as I stated just before, we are made up of over 4 quadrillion cells. Now, I've said this once before in another episode, but science at this time believe we have over 37 trillion cells that makes up the human body. In truth, there is, how would you say, some reality to that statement. But to be fair to those that seek beyond it, if you opened up one singular cell, and if you kept opening it up and going deeper and deeper and deeper, you would find thousands of other cells. Now, people say, how is that possible? Okay, look at us. We have a body. And if we could take an X-ray of our internal organs, we would see the lungs, the heart, the stomach, the colon, all the little cords that go down that feed. We would see our kidneys, our liver, and all the rest that goes with it, our brain, beyond our eyes. We would see all the little electrical wires that are connected to the brain, which is an amazing thing, sending out at the speed of light. We would see how our muscles work if we were walking, how our tendons were holding our muscle structure together on the bones, our skeleton. Now that to me is a miracle within itself, because if we look at it from an honest heart, if we studied science, we should not be walking on 2 legs, because in one way it's totally unbelievable that we can, to keep our balance. Now, what keeps our balance? Our balance is kept by our ears, what's built inside. And that is amazing within itself. So again, we have all these organs, we have all this muscle structure, we have all our skeleton structure, and everything else that makes up us as a human being. And yet, how do we know that we are built from 4 quadrillion cells? Because we're not taught at that sub-level that those cells actually exist. And that's why we need to study what living energy is. And we need to have an understanding that living energy has been here from the dawn of time. And the cells that existed so long ago, and I am talking of hundreds of thousands of billions, trillion years. It's so far back, I don't believe anyone will ever discover when it all began. But what I know is from what I've seen and what I've been shown, it all began with one cell in a non-motion movement, just floating, just being, without sound, without light, without anything. And when that first cell had a thought, whatever that thought was, now science will say, who am I? That's the most common saying. I don't believe that was the case. But from that moment on, in evolution, everything began to come to life. And thousands and trillions of cells began to join. And as they joined, they reproduced. And they were reproducing at such a rapid rate that it was like seeing, say, 10 billion flies coming out of a football all in one go, as if they were being produced. It would be incredible. But that's where it all began. And if we can learn to understand living energy in its true reality, we can then learn to understand how the physical body became into existence. Now, let's go to 2, the emotional body. human-created ego of our human existence. Well, most people would say, well, what the hell is an emotional body? You've only got to walk down the street or go into a shopping centre or go into a school, but especially go into where all the government MPs and senators are sitting discussing all these legal dramas. And if you listen to them, it's like listening to little children. It's no different, like a school ground. That's called emotion. And that's why we have an emotional body. We are learning. The emotional body was created by living energy, which is living consciousness. So it allows us to feel emotion, negative and positive. And we learn to find the balance within that negative and positive emotional body. And that's why it was created. And the emotional body is pure energy. And have a guess where it exists. Do you know where?
Yeah, the base chakra?
That's it. Between the base chakra and just below the heart. It literally goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth every time we become emotional. And that's the hard part to go beyond in a lot of people. So that's one of the reasons why we have an emotional body. And the ego is created to the emotional body. And the ego is also created to the human brain. Because we have to have something to ignite us. And it's the human brain that's got, say, so much information that it's trying to dissect all the time to give us the answer that we're seeking from that emotional body in that moment to whatever is happening. So that's our emotional body. And we have to learn and then go beyond it. Now we go to number 3, the etheric body. Now, I don't believe, from what I've read and what I've communicated with a lot of people over the years that I've been on this planet, that a lot of people would fully understand what the etheric is. Now, most people believe the etheric is this thin energy, about 2 to 3, maybe 4 centimeters, that's like a grey-white light that's around the top of our head and all our shoulders, down our arms, under our armpits, down the side of our body, right down to our toes, then up between our legs. And that energy, which is the etheric body, covers our entire physical body. Now, what's really interesting is, then what good is it? What's its purpose? It only has one purpose. And without it, we would never, or actually the mind would never be able to transmit the knowledge to the body if the etheric wasn't there, because it would literally bounce off. But the etheric is what you call a sponge. It's like an absorber. And as soon as the mind releases the information to the body, so the brain picks it up, it goes into the etheric and is transmitted automatically into all your organs. Not just your brain. It goes into everything. It goes into your muscles. It goes into your heart. It goes into your lungs. It goes into your liver. It goes into your kidneys. Because all those parts within you are alive. Because it's living energy. It just doesn't wait for the brain to send out all this information once it's dissected. Because if you dissect all that information, and then as the brain you send it to all the rest of the body, you've only got a small portion of what was originally sent. It's like me giving you a USB stick with only half the information on it. And you're saying, well, how do I know what you're saying if I don't know what the end is? And I think we relate to that. So that is the etheric body. It's the absorber of knowledge from the mind. Is there any questions on what I've actually said so far?
And like you said at the start, that it does look like a 2 or 3 or 4 centimeters of white light.
That is true.
And anyone can kind of work on they can train, but also they can just relax and learn to see it, can't they?
Absolutely. When I before I go on about any more of that, but when I lay down, and especially if I'm by myself, sometimes I go to another room because I might snore a little, so I go and lay in another bed because I don't like to annoy other people. And as I'm laying there and I do a healing, first on myself, I come from my soul through my mind to my etheric and then to my body. And I see if there is any negative energies that have attached themselves to me from other ones, other people, because that happens all the time. And when I mention the aura next, I'll explain the reason why. So I cleanse everything before I actually send healing to another being. So I don't send maybe some negativity that might have been around me that I wasn't aware of. And that's where a lot of healers fault. Now, a lot of healers will say to me, oh, look, I do healings on myself all the time. But if you actually observe what they do, you would be quite shocked. A lot of them. I'm not saying all of them, but I'm saying a lot of them. A lot of them don't come from the heart. They do it simply to do it. But healing is a real responsibility. You have an amazing responsibility, not just to yourself, but to the person that you're actually emitting energy from your being, which is divine light that's coming within you, which is living energy, and then going out of you. Because if you've got all this negativity within your etheric, within your aura, you will send some of it out to those people you are trying to heal. And that's not right. That's very unethical.
They don't know.
Any questions about that?
So yeah, they don't know that they're complete. So when you're sending healing, whatever your complete makeup is at the time, the kind of goes across as a healing.
Yes.
So if there's any negativity, even if you don't know about it, it just attaches on and goes.
Absolutely, it does. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, we don't realise, and that's being very irresponsible. And we have to, how would you say, learn to understand the principle of healing from that perspective. And that's why I chose to do this tonight, to explain the different bodies and how it can affect people. Like if you're a very emotional person, like we go back to number 2, the emotional body. If you live in your emotional body, say your entire physical life, not lives beyond, but just the one you're living currently, you'll find that you will create a lot of unhappiness, disease, illness, but you're also doing the same to other people. You know, by the time we're 30, at least 30, we should, through our own awareness, if we're taught, through our own awareness, have dealt with the emotional body and no longer have a use for it. And then teach that to our children if we're having children, so they learn. But none of us are doing that. If there is, very, very few out of 7 billion people. And that's not a good sign. So we need to teach ourselves so we can teach others, but especially our children, what the human body is made up of and how it can affect every person you come into their vibration. You can affect them if you're a negative person.
Wow. So that goes on to the aura.
Now we go on to the aura. That's right. The aura that surrounds our whole physical body. Now the aura is an amazing, amazing creation of living energy as conscious energy. It would have taken, I believe, living energy to form that awareness over hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years, if not millions. And that's evolution, because energy doesn't have a time factor. It's like saying, if I'm going to create an apple, well, I'm not going to do it in a day because I don't believe in a day. If it takes 1,000,000 years, it's okay because I'm in perfect harmony. And 1,000,000 years is like a click of a finger. That's when you don't have time and you're not running around with your pants on fire. you're in that peace zone. It's like when you play music, Mike. I remember we spoke about last time. It's like when you're playing music, you get into a zone. And when you're in that zone, time has no reality whatsoever. What happens is the moment. And that's what we need to understand. So the emotional body must dissipate from every human when they start to learn self-awareness and become feeling beings. And that's one of the things that I've been saying quite a lot about becoming a feeling being, which is from the heart. Do you remember when we spoke about healing? And I was listening to one of the episodes, and I remember saying something about when we learn to come from the heart, we not only feel good, but we make others. Have you ever noticed that? We make others feel good. And we become the prime example for change. And that's important. And now the aura that surrounds our whole physical body, when we learn to come from the heart, the aura expands. And when I mean expands, it has no limitation. It can expand like 2 meters, 10 meters, 100 meters, 10 kilometers, a light year away. When we consciously evolve beyond the pettiness of human existence to our conditioning and our beliefs, we become an infinite being with no boundaries. And it doesn't matter if we physically die, because that knowledge that we've obtained, we go into different vibrations, and naturally we go into the spirit world. And when we're in the spirit world, we can create whatever we want if we have that awareness from what we learned as a human being. And that's why the aura can tell so much. I used to do a lot of my metaphysical readings just by observing the auras of people. And when I first actually started seeing auras, the first aura I saw, and this is no joke, was this man. He was so black. His aura was so black. It had all this, it's like looking into a tar pit. And it was just all around him swirling, literally swirling. And the negative nature of his life shows in what he is about through his aura. If a person, say, has bad kidneys, you can look at their aura and you can see it. Sludge, no water, needs more water to cleanse because the kidneys are building up a sludge and they're not functioning at 100%. They're only functioning at, say, 40 or 30 or 20. And that happens to a lot of human beings on this earth. I mean that, a lot. That's why they feel sick all the time. That's why they feel lethargic, no energy. That's why they end up going blind. Their eyes get lousy. It affects everything in their entire system. It just seems to flow from one thing to the other. And that's why filtered water or spring water is the best thing to drink. In fact, it's in truth, it's the only thing to drink, because the rest of it, all the things that are made, all the how would you say, the sugar drinks and the what do they call that stuff that makes them all fuzz? Soda, yeah. That is really bad for the human body. It's not a good thing, especially if you drink that and you never drink water. It will really show up on you down the track. So the aura shows everything about your physical conditioning. It also, if you're a more aware being, it shows everything about your thought patterns in your life and even some of the things that you've done that have been really negative. If you're a murderer, it will show. It will even show what you've done in your aura. It's amazing. If you've robbed people, you've bashed people, you've done horrible things, it shows. And the reason is it brings everything to the forefront so other people have the awareness of not being near you or saying, putting you into a prison or whatever. But it's to help. And that's how the Nikarons are. They see auras whenever they want to. All they got to do is stare at you for a few moments and they instantly see the aura appears. And a lot of Nikarons do self-healing on themselves, but also others. They allow it naturally. So the aura has many purposes. First, to show your health. Second, the way you've lived. Third, who you are as a being. Right? And also when your aura expands and expands out really far, it shows you that you are growing into an infinite being of light. So when you eventually leave your body, you may choose not to come back as a physical human being. You may venture off and just exist for a while within the vibration of spirit and then travel to other worlds, because you'll have that ability. Thought consciousness creates everything, not just physically, but spiritually. So the aura plays a very big part in that. Now, as we go on to number 5, we have what is called the astral body. Now, a lot of people believe the astral body is the spirit body. Well, it's not. The astral body is the lower connection to spirit vibration. Let's say we had a ladder and the ladder was 1 kilometer long or whatever, a mile long, but it had all the little rails, what you step on, going all the way up that entire kilometer. At the bottom of that ladder is the astral world, the lower sludge world of, violence, ignorance, those who are murderers, mass murderers, people who just live in really low thought consciousness. That's where they go to learn and to understand that they can't continue that existence. Because if they do, that's where they'll come back every single time and they'll never grow consciously. But as they do take recognition, whether through their own thought consciousness or through, say, their guides, they may have a spark and suddenly realize. And once they realize and let go and learn to forgive, they can step on the next step on that ladder, and then the next, and the next, and the next, and the next. And eventually they step into spirit world, which is a much higher vibration. But it takes time or moments or whatever to get to that level, because you have to learn to grow just like a child. They have to learn to crawl before they walk. Then they have to learn to think and behave and be kind, be loving. It's all a learning process, and it's no different to, say, the lower end of the astral world. And once you learn, you go up, and you keep going up. And normally, honestly, you never go back down to that level unless you create something so horrible that it puts you right back at the lowest end. It's all about growth. It's all about letting go. Now, when we go on to number 6, we have the spirit body. Now, the spirit body, depending where you're learning, say you just entered spirit world, and you might be, say, 40 steps up that ladder, and you entered spirit world, and you go into a human body, you experience life. It's pretty good, but you have your downs and your ups, and then you pass over when you get to a certain age, and then you go into spirit world. So you're there for a little while, you learn, and then you come back again. And that's the purpose of having a spirit. Now, a lot of people believe, and what they've been taught, is that it's not the spirit. It's that it's the soul. And when you die, the soul dissipates and goes back to God or whoever they believe in. And that is completely untrue, totally untrue. What actually happens, you have a spirit which never perishes. It always grows. But you have a soul that is divinity. That's your divinity. Because your soul gave you the facet to come and experience physical life, wherever that may be in whatever universe. And one day, in 1 trillion years maybe, or maybe 1 billion years, maybe sooner, that soul that you belong to will no longer put out life form or no more spirits. And that soul will be coming to a point of its own existence where it becomes like a being like Taikani, like my father, Yakas Kardis. And there are so many more.
So it steps beyond its spot where it was as an actual soul and becomes a being that lives within life itself.
Absolutely, because it's
at a higher level.
Absolutely, because it's gained such a broad existence of knowledge. And even that soul will put spirits onto other planets. I mean, a soul just doesn't put out one spirit at a time. It can put out 100. You can either have 100 on this planet Earth, all over planet Earth, or 100 in Australia. And as each person or being dies, they can join back to another one that's on the Earth and give them more higher knowledge. Or a being from another world can die and they can come and join. Because it's infinite. There is no distance in spirit vibration in the world of energy. No distance.
So has Yakas Kardis actually evolved beyond having a separate soul?
Yes,
then?
yes.
Yeah, so just like you were talking about,
yes.
He's got the soul has become
He's
part of the living world. Yeah, he is the soul.
He's the actual soul. And he can take on any form that he chooses. He can be wherever he wants to be, whatever the reason may be. He can create whatever he wishes to create. And you are so far beyond what is called ego, because it doesn't exist in that type of realm. Never does. It's impossible. Because if it did, you wouldn't exist. I can tell you now. You would not exist in that type of realm. Because in that realm, there is no such thing as violence. There is balance, absolutely, but not violence. Not like an aggressive alien race that comes in just simply to massacre, say, 50 billion beings just so they can take their resources. It sounds like the entire existence of life is very, very complicated, and yet it's not. We have created our existence on this planet in a very complicated manner because we don't believe in very much at all. And we're very limited to what we believe in because we've been, how would you say, seduced, drummed to a point of not wanting to ask a question, just to do what we're told, and it's okay. And that's not okay because we've literally lost our connection to what we are as a being. We don't even recognize our soul. We don't even recognize how to contact our soul, let alone communicate with our spirit. And our spirit wants to communicate, I can tell you that now. It wants to grow consciously because that's what it's about. So the spirit body is the direct link to one's mind. So when your spirit goes out of your body at night, an energy from the mind goes with it. So it has the capacity to create if that's what it wishes, because it couldn't create without the mind. It has to have the truth, and the mind is the truth. It's the real reality to our connection to our soul. Now we come to number 7, the mind. The mind, the overseer of the above and direct link to your soul. That is a fabulous way of looking at it, Michael. When we think about our mind being pure energy, not connected physically to our human brain, and where the overseer is a direct link to the soul. And when we start to understand that, we start to think beyond what our thoughts normally would create. We start to see the possibilities in everything. And I see the possibilities in everything. What's really hard for, I believe, humanity to accept is pulling yourself away from what you know, from what you have lived with. And the reason that's so difficult is because humanity has lived many, many incarnations and has experienced billions of experiences, some negative, some positive. But that holds us back because we're not dealing with what our emotions are. And that goes back to number 2, the emotional body. If we don't let go of the emotional body, we will carry that emotion through our human existence in our current life and all the lives to come if we don't take recognition. Because the whole purpose is to understand our makeup, but grow beyond it. Literally grow beyond it. And yes, we're going to lose friends, family, husbands, wives, even children. Because we have this drive within us for knowledge. So we can literally become the teacher for the future in our next incarnation. And that's what happens. We grow beyond it, what is currently there. And when we come back again, we are becoming the teacher. Even though we're always a student, but we're becoming the teacher. So when we share knowledge through our DNA, we're giving our children the right formula to grow consciously. But at the moment, we're not doing that whatsoever. And if we think we are, we're just kidding ourselves. We have to admit the truth that we are caught in a rut and we're not allowing ourselves with an open mind to new knowledge. We're stuck in the old rut of the past. We don't think we are because we're not seeing it, because we're living in it. But when we start to see what's happening and we have like an opening, and suddenly we see, oh my God, I've been living like that for the last 15, 20 years. I've seen my parents do the same thing. That's the point where we have to take recognition and self-realization and want to change for the betterment of our own evolution and also our children to come. So that's the mind. The mind is everything when it comes to the physical body. It gives us the knowledge from the soul directly. And then we come to number 8, the soul. The overseer of the above and direct link to the totality of creation being living energy. When we can learn to formulate an understanding of what living energy truly is, and we start to realize that every single thing, the smallest particle of dust, is living energy. The microphone is living energy. The laptop is living energy. Your wife, your husband, your children are living energy. Look at them. They're so beautiful. They run around. Your wife gives you a kiss. You give her a kiss. You give her a cuddle. And you can feel the heart. Your kid runs up, gives you a big cuddle, pushes you over, knocks you up against the furniture. Oh, you just love him. Crazy, but it's great. It's all about progressing beyond what you are. And when you pass on what you've learnt willingly to your children, my God, they've got a chance beyond what you are to go further and further and further. And that's when you learn about the totality of creation being living energy. And that's what the soul is. It's divinity. Now, the big thing is we come to one which is number 9, called creation itself. What is creation? Totality, divinity, infinity, pure living consciousness, which is pure living energy. Learning about energy is the most important factor of any species' existence, because we start to put everything into perspective. And if we don't, then all we do is live life in a rut. Each day we get up, we normally do the same thing. Each night we go to sleep, we normally do the same thing. We don't advance ourselves in thought consciousness, in thought expansion. It's like saying, you know how I spoke about there is no distance, space within space, to bend space. Well, we are space, Michael. We are living space within space. If we could open up a body, a living body, and just open it right up, just imagine for a moment, use your imagination. There's a person standing in front of you, right? And suddenly you can just see all their energy open up to the side. Like open up the entire chest, the legs, everything. And you can see everything working. That is space within space. Now, take the heart. Just bring the heart out slightly and just see the heart open up and spread out. That is space within space. It is infinity. It's like when you look at your body and see how big you are and how you got a heart, you got lungs, all that. And you think, wow, I'm a pretty big person. But then you look at a little fly or a little insect, so small you can just see it on your finger, like an ant. And yet it has internal organs. Now, do you believe that's possible?
You've told me that space, it can get smaller and smaller and still be...
Absolutely. I mean, we can't see an atom unless we look through a microscope. We can't see a living cell unless we look through a microscope. Our human understanding consciously doesn't have that ability, but we know, we feel it exists. So now, humanly, we've created a telescope to actually look at that cell. And you know what's really interesting about living energy? If you put one cell on a little dish, put it under a very powerful microscope, and then dissect it. If you could dissect it in half, you would see it spread apart and then recreate itself and move to another one, and so on and so on and so on to infinity. And it would start to create a life form. And that's what living energy is all about, creating from its own imagination. And that is just amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
Wow.
It just mind boggles you to what we truly are. And I've explained about our bodies when you look at them. Like say, for instance, if you look at the physical body from the side, right, from the side, and say you're looking at it from your right side and I'm just trying to get this right, so your right hand starts to move from its back. And what you see then is this energy formulating into emotional body. Then you'll see an etheric body. Then you'll see an aura. Then you'll see an astral body. Then you'll see a spirit body. Then you'll see the mind. Then you'll see the soul and beyond. It's like it's shooting upwards, but you don't see that because we aren't capable of seeing that. And yet, if we look at a human body and we have the seeing sight, we can see the etheric, we can see the aura. Most people will never see the emotional body because it's an invisible energy and it's inside us, but it's also behind us. It is a connection directly to your soul and beyond. And that energy comes down in stages to your physical self. And it's actually an amazing thing to observe, and I've actually seen it. Yeah. So do you have any questions?
I don't think so. That's very, very good, very interesting. Is there anything else you wanted to share on this topic?
I believe, Michael, that every human on this planet has the capability of self-realization to what can be achieved as a species. But I also believe, from what I've studied humanity's past, through being able to put fragments of existences together from the void. And what I've seen in the void is the entire history of humanity. And I've gone into it, Michael, on many, many occasions, and I have seen many, many things of the past. But I didn't stop there. I went into the Earth's vibration. And what I discovered was the real essence of when dinosaurs existed on this world. And what created the dinosaurs? Who created the dinosaurs? There are so many theories going around that this one being created the dinosaurs. But they missed the most vital link. It wasn't any of that. What created everything from the beginning of dawn in every single universe was living energy, which is living consciousness. And it's right throughout the universes. And when the first spark of existence came into existence, there was only one universe. One. Now there are trillions. And I think that's an incredible thing.
I wanted to ask you about that, Kuntarkis. If a new universe starts with a simple cell,
yes,
that divides and grows and expands and such, I just want to know how to visualize, what about the size of the universe around it? Is that infinite, or is it like a cell within, like a cell is expanding within within like a balloon, which is the universe.
Okay.
What about the space of the universe itself?
Okay. I feel I know what you were getting at. You did say one part there that I was nearly going to catch you on, but it's not the cell that's the universe.
No. It's within. It's how it's. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah,
yes,
that's okay. See, when the cell had that first thought, whatever it may have been, and it grew and grew and grew, consciousness. It's actually consciousness coming together to create. And what it created in that one universe was life forms. And as it grew consciously more and more through observation and personal experiences over many billions of years, it created another universe, like another bubble on top, like a growth. Like if you had a tumor in your hand, right? And suddenly a tumor grew off on the right-hand side and became the same shape and size. That would be like another universe. Then suddenly...
Sounds very healthy, yeah.
Yeah, very healthy. I use that as a silly example. And then another one, and then another one, and then another one. And that's how the whole of the universes became reality over trillions and trillions of years. Just simply through thought, consciousness, and evolution. Now, what created planets was living energy. It saw that it wanted to create something, and it didn't know what it wanted to create. It had no idea. But over time, when I say time, I shouldn't say time, but over, say, eons. Is it eons? No.
Eons.
Over eons, thoughts would come into existence that we can create a life form. So they first created a planet. And the planet incubated millions billions of years. It's like Earth, 4.73 billion years it was created ago. And yet it took maybe 2.5 billion years to incubate into an actual planet. Now everyone's going to say, well, why would anyone do that? It's evolution. Now what's more interesting is, I've never asked my father this question. He's been around between, I got to say, because I get confused sometimes, he's been around between 17 and 19 billion years, right? Let's just say that. Mm-hmm. And my question sometimes would be to myself, if he's been around that long and the universe is trillions and trillions of years of existence and creation or being created, could he possibly have existed before? Could he have possibly existed from the dawn of time because of what reality he's created into his existence now over the last, say, 17 billion years? Because that's a pretty long time to be in existence. So he creates worlds. So my question would be also, not just to someone like him, but to anyone, if that is the case, and he now can create worlds, and he also can create life forms just by putting thought energy into the ocean, and to create life forms where life forms come from the ocean, which they do. It's like an incubation period, and then life formulates once it's on the planet itself. And it takes billions of years to come into complete existence, like Neanderthals. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years before that evolved into even a Neanderthal. And then it took 87,000 Nicarons to mingle, to mate, and then to move over the entire planet. And that came into existence. And eventually, poor old Nicarons were, how would you say, taken out of vibration to what they truly once were, because they were adapting to what the Neanderthals were in breeding on this planet, to how their bodies would be shaped. So it can sound really, really complicated, but I keep going back to one thing, and I always go back to one thing. I go back to living energy, because he created everything, and that makes me feel balanced, feel full when it comes to knowledge, because I know that living energy is right here where I am sitting, and it's all around this room, filled in this room, and I'm breathing it in every moment of every breath. And the more I breathe in the knowing of it, the more knowledge and the more conscious awareness I gain. We need to learn to be conscious of our surroundings and of living energy. Not something that's a belief system that's been around for thousands and thousands of years. Like if you take someone famous, who would you pick, Michael?
Let's go with Keanu Reeves.
Okay, Keanu Reeves. Okay, you'll go. I want you to go back much further than that, but that's okay. Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves. Now, this is going to be a pretty big statement, and maybe Keanu Reeves might hear this somewhere down the track, maybe when I'm all gone. But Keanu Reeves is more than people think he is. How can I say this? You know how I said everyone on this planet is basically an alien, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that's a true fact, because they have from anything from 1% to, say, 49% of Nicaron within them, because of the 87,000 that were here originally, 928,000 years ago. Now, Keanu Reeves is actually a highly evolved being. And what he's showing humanity, even though he is making lots of money from his movies, that's not the point. The point is, he is teaching to go beyond the physical, to go beyond what we believe is reality. If you watch his movies, yeah, he does all these sword fightings and he fights, he kills, and all that type of stuff. Well, we know that's all just games and play and how they set up the cameras and all that type of stuff. Entertainment. It's like my book called The Dream Assassin Volume 1. I've got in the front of it, yes, it's created for entertainment, but also for teaching, knowledge. Because it's like the crop circles. You walk through a crop circle, or you eat the wheat from a crop circle, and it helps open you up spiritually because it's energy. And the Nicarons have always known how to use living energy, and that's what it is. Now, Keanu Reeves is actually teaching us to be more aware, teaching us not to have limitations. And that's very important. Very, very important. That's all I want to say.
Well, good. Thank you so much, Kuntarkis, for all that you shared.
You're very welcome, Michael.
This concludes the energy bodies of the human being. If you have any questions as it relates to this episode or any other, or any suggestions or requests, please just send them through to kuntarkis@gmail.com. You can find out more about Kuntarkis at etcconsciousness.com. That's it for now. Thanks so much for listening. My name is Michael Yon, and stay tuned for more.